What's up, guys? It's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. And today marks the beginning of a new week and also the beginning of the costume summon. So we've got a couple of brand new secondary costumes in the portal that we're going to have a look at today. A couple of exciting ones. So the first one we're going to start off with is the new secondary costume for Azlar. He just looks amazing. Man, I can relate to this. He's got the little cherubs, the little kids in his arms, and they've obviously been doing some face painting and braiding in his hair. So I feel for the poor guy. Loving this. I love the art. It's nice to have a bit of a sense of humor. So to start off with, in terms of his class, we've got him as a fighter now, which is great. I mean, we know the fighter class is probably one of the best next to the rogue class. So he does have a chance to revive. And in fact, alongside his talents, he's going to have a superior revive, which is even more annoying. So that is a 35% chance to revive with 1 HP and 50% additional mana after a fatal attack. So that is a great class right off the bat. In terms of the costume bonus, obviously with the secondary costumes, they get a huge costume bonus, which is 15% attack, 15 defense, 20% health, if you can believe it, and 5% mana bonus. So his stats are going to be absolutely redonkulous. I mean, as you can see here, we're looking at 1,093 attacks, so nearly 1,100 attack with maxed out with limit breaks and emblems, which are just enormous. I mean, he's got over 1,000, nearly 1,020 team power just up there. It's crazy. He's got 891 defense, so that is a little bit of a saving grace there if you're facing him, because he's a little bit less defensive or less strong. And he's got 1744 health, so big stats for this guy. In terms of the specials, so just to recap the initial specials, so first of all, he had a volcanic eruption where it was 205 damage to all, and all enemies received 480 burn damage over 6 turns. And then in his first costume, it was 205 to the target and nearby, but it was 410 to enemies with less than 50% health remaining. So potentially a 410% hit 3 special. And then he added the 556 burn damage over 2 turns, which was a pretty hardcore special, but it is conditional, so they have to have that less than 50% health remaining, which is kind of difficult to work around if you're on defense, not as much on offense, but still it's conditional. Now, his new special is called Volcanic Explosion, and yep, he looks like he's ready to explode. Those kids have just pushed him right to the breaking point. Again, I can relate. And he's dealing 310% damage to the target and nearby. So another hit 3 special at slow speed, and the target and nearby receives 756 burn damage over 4 turns. And he now absorbs 40% of the dealt burn damage as health. All right, so in terms of the special, I'm a little bit disappointed to see that it's not damage to all enemies, if I'm totally honest, because I think that he could have gotten away with that. 310% damage to the target and nearby is good, but it is at slow speed, so I'd expect it to be good. And with that attack stat, it is going to hurt quite a bit. But it's not sort of game changing. I think that he will be able to be dealt with without too much difficulty if you're smart about it. The heal over time for 40% of the burn damage that he's dealing to the target and nearby. I mean, if it's 756 over 4 turns, that's less than 200 per turn. To 3, so he might be healing for a maximum of about 250-ish per turn, which is okay, but again, if it gets cleansed, it's not as great. So I do like this costume because of the class and the superior revive that he's got now. So I think that he is probably a bit more usable in terms of being on your defense. but I would probably say that he is more suited to the rush format. Because I think that if you were to flank him in a rush team, he could do some pretty serious damage. And if you don't have Khufu as another option, another hard hitting red hero, that Azlar would be a pretty good option in this secondary costume. And obviously the stats are just bonkers as well. So I would say probably I'm going to go out on well, not on a limb. I'm going to say he's pretty average. He's probably a B hero for me. I do like the damage to the target in nearby, and I do like the heal and the class, but he's not a game changer. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Azlar to start with. Now, the second costume is also a slow speed hero, and interestingly enough, she's not featured, but it is Justice. So Justice, I mean, she has been an interesting hero. She's never really sort of taken off. And even in her first costume, where she was increasing the damage per dead allies, I mean, you don't want people on your team to be dying. So I think that's why she's struggled a bit. So in this new form, she's of the Sorcerer class, which is a pretty good class. She has got the superior talent, which is a 60% chance to drop the mana generation of the enemy by 50% for 2 turns after dealing damage, which is a pretty decent effect because it's just slowing the other team. And the costume bonus, we won't go over that again because it's the same as Azlar's costume bonus. So in terms of stats, we've got 909 attack, 954 on the defense, so pretty good, and 1981 on the health, so absolutely huge on the health. So she's definitely going to stick around to be able to use her special. But what is her special? Let's have a look. So the new special is the Ritual of Judgment. So she's going to deal 300% damage to all enemies. Pretty decent hit. I mean, we just said about Azlar, he's dealing 310 to 3. She's dealing 300 to all. And yes, her attack stat's about 100 points less, so it's not going to hurt as much. But it's still a pretty decent hit. Now, this is again conditional. The damage is increased by 45% per each dead enemy. I would prefer it to be like this rather than per dead ally because, you know, you're relying on people on your team dying. So a better caveat there where it's dependent on how many enemies are dead. And if it increases by 45% per each dead enemy, you only need 1 dead enemy for that to be 345 to all. And now we're talking, I mean, that's a pretty decent hit. If it was 2 dead on the opposition team, then it's going to be 390 damage to all. So a 390% hit 3 basically at slow speed. So I think that she can be usable. In fact, I'm going to say she'd probably be a bit more usable than Azlar in this form. And she's giving the minus 40% accuracy for 3 turns. Again, a little bit disappointed that it's 3 turns. The original was 4 turns and 285% damage to all. I don't see why they couldn't have given that, you know, just an extra turn on there would have been really good. So yeah, I would say that she is a bit more usable than Azlar. But again, she's sorry guys, they're not as good as some of the other secondary costumes that we've seen, especially recently. So yeah, the mainly usable in Rush, I would say again, but she is a bit better than Azlar, so she'll go ahead and get a B plus from this in terms of the grade. But she is a much more usable hero, I would say, than her previous 2 costumes. And if you did get her, congrats. I'd go ahead and level her, especially if you're lacking a slow yellow hero for your rush teams. But she is going to be a little bit niche and not usable in all areas of the game. Now, the third hero in this class is one of my favorites, and I think one of a lot of people's favorites. So, Li Xiu. She is an incredible healer because of the way that she treats and deals with mana. So her initial special was the Slash of 7 Blades. She reduced the mana of all enemies by 20%, which is a massive amount. I mean, if you're trying to get that extra 20% mana back, it's really difficult. So she does still work in this original version as an excellent tank for rush tournaments, especially where there's no purple allowed. And the superior withstand is a 50% chance to resist negative status effects. And if the effect's triggered, she attacks with another 100% damage. So in the original version, even if you were to just get the costume to level the original version, she'd be worth it. Because that is an absolutely brilliant special. Now, the first costume, we had a reduction for the mana of all enemies by 10%, and was a slightly higher percentage damage. I was never a huge fan of that, to be fair. I think the original was far better, even though there was a switch between classes to the rogue class, still not better than the original. Now, her new version, she looks like she's still celebrating the Lunar New Year event that we just had. She's got her fireworks ready to go. And she's looking dope, though. I like the costume, like a ninja, ninja Lunar New Year hero. So her new special is called Slash of the 7 Stilettos. It is at average speed. In terms of the stats, with the limit breaks, etc., we're looking at pretty good balanced stats across the board. So nearly 900 for the attack and defense, and over 1500 health, which is good to see. And now she's going to be dealing 270% damage to the target and nearby. I do like that. An average speed hit 3 hero with a pretty decent hit to those 3. And then the target and nearby enemies get silenced for 3 turns. So silence is a cool skill. I would say the only downside of silencing is that the enemies can still gain mana. You're just sort of preventing the use of their special. But if you want to take out a few heroes on the other team, it is such a great special. I think that this one, out of all of the 3 heroes, is going to be my pick of the bunch. She's going to be usable in this version for in raids and in wars, and she's going to be usable in her original version for in tournaments. So I think that you'll be definitely doing well. The talent class is a bit of a downgrade with her being of the wizard class, but it does give you that superior jinx, which, just to go over, is a plus 50% chance to dispel all active buffs before the damage is dealt, and then deal 15% extra damage per each active buff that the enemy had. So that 270% hit, if the superior jinx talent is activated and if they had buffs, which is a 50% chance, could increase up to some pretty ridiculous damage amounts depending on how many buffs. I mean, just say they had 3 buffs, for example, that's an extra 45% damage. So she's now going to be dealing 315% damage to the 3 heroes that she's hitting. So yeah, I'm definitely down with Li Xiu. She is an absolutely great hero, and one that I would love out of this portal. So I do have a couple of summons. In fact, I've got 4 summons, so let's go ahead and drop a couple. In fact, I wouldn't mind Magni. But again, the chances are slim, so let's see if I can get anyone from here. So let's go. 4 summons, see if I get anyone new. Not new. Let's have at least a 4-star in here. Kashrik, don't need you. Oh, Kalile. Don't have the second costume for her, so that's a new one for me. I will take it. And I think with this one we should get a chest as well, so Oberon. Right, sweet. So let's grab this chest. A tabard. Okay, cool. So not a complete busted flush. I wish you guys all the best in your summons. Hopefully you do manage to grab this lovely lady. She's absolutely brilliant. Please drop us a like, subscribe if you found the video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Bye for now.